In this segment, Stephanie Miller is joined by Harry Dunn. Harry was an officer at the Capitol during the January 6th attacks, and he's now running for Congress. The two share a fascinating conversation. Here's Stephanie.
The author, new congressional candidate and author of Standing My Ground, Harry Dunn. What a thrill to get to talk to you this morning. Good morning, Harry.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you taking the time, and thank you for those nice things that you just said. Thank you.
Every time I see you on TV, I want to jump through the screen and give you a big bear hug.
Yeah.
Well, we got to make that happen then.
Definitely.
I mean, I am so excited that you have decided to run for Congress, to do something about this, because I can't even imagine how you're feeling with just the events of the last couple of days. This testimony from Trump's lawyer and Trump not disavowing violence. What are your feelings, Harry? Just if I can start with that.
I'm glad that you're excited, because what the hell am I thinking jumping into a dysfunctional body as a body as dysfunctional as Congress is as it is. But no, and seriously, it is important that people do participate, stand up, and join in the something that makes us unique. Government is for the people, by the people, of the people. And as a citizen, first of all, as a citizen, and then secondly, as an individual who experienced something on January 6th and was there firsthand, and it's been there for the last 15 plus years of my life, seeing how Congress has been dysfunctional, and that we need actual truth tellers and people that are dedicated to stand up for the American people and give the people of the district that they represent, specifically for me, Maryland's 3rd district, a voice in the halls of Congress.
I know you've been asked this many times, Harry, about having to serve with these people in Congress, that many of which, I mean, to me, that's insurrection too. They voted not to certify the election. And also, as a cop, isn't that the main thing you look for, is people that change their story? And, these are the people that you saved their life on January 6th, and are now trying to rewrite history and say, oh, no. And they're on video, and they're saying, no, it was a peaceful tourist visit.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But we have to remember, though, it is not illegal for them to vote to decertify the election, even if it is based on lies. They have the right to do that. And that's, that's one of the things that people need to realize, that even though I have my own political beliefs and ideas and morals, on January 6th, my job wasn't about enforcing those morals. It was about standing up for democracy. And that meant protecting members who I knew were bigots and liars, because they have the right to do that. To combat that, we fill Congress with individuals who will be truth tellers. We educate the American people. Like you just said, they're on video. Hell, on January 7th, you had Leader McCarthy, Scalise, and even in the impeachment trial of Trump, you had Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell disavowing Trump and saying that he was responsible. But look how quickly their tune changed. So that's why we need to continue to shed light on those situations, those statements made by those individuals, and, saturate Congress with people like myself who will be truth tellers and warriors for the American people.
Well, I have to say, I'm not surprised you're running as a Democrat, just because you look at this party of Republicans that have said they're the party of the, Blue Lives Matter and law and order. And I never thought in my lifetime, Harry, I'd see police officers being poked with Blue Lives Matter flagpoles and black officers being poked with the Confederate flag in my capital.
Yeah, that's all rhetoric. It's a cool campaign slogan. It's something that it makes a cool hashtag. Back the blue and blue. All that doesn't matter. And Blue Lives Matter, and then put an asterisk next to it, unless they're Democrats or unless they agree with everything that I'm saying. So, I hate speaking in absolutes. So that's just one of those things that just it's a cool saying. It's a catchy saying, but that's it.
Yeah, and Harry, some people that in Congress that were in law enforcement. What's his name? Troy Nels.
Mm-hmm.
He said,
Yeah,
"This is where you see the video of him, the rioters, the
yeah.
insurrectionists screaming at each other." He said, "I've been a law enforcement in Texas for 30 years. I've never had people act this way. I'm ashamed." The rioter says, "We're coming in one way or another." What I'm witnessing is a disgrace. We're better than this. Violence is never the answer. But in the 2 years since, Nels has downplayed the significance of the attack. He says, "I was in there face to face with protesters. I know firsthand there was no insurrection." I mean, this is the war on truth that we're fighting now, isn't it?
Yeah, I wish that he was, as vocal in the media about, how ashamed he was that day, like he was on January 6th. He didn't know how it was going to turn out. Um, he it was, but it's right on par for what they do. They say things publicly and then they backtrack. Well, they don't backtrack. They wait to see what Trump says and then they parrot what the leader of their party says. So I'm not
Yeah.
surprised at all.
Um, Harry, I'm sure you heard the comments of your colleague, Sergeant Gunnell. Um, I can't even. I hesitate to even. I can imagine all you've been through, and hearing Donald Trump call the January 6th terrorists hostages. Particularly when there are actual Americans that are actual hostages held by Hamas right now, for instance.
Yeah, yeah.
But Sergeant Gunnell said making things up like hostages comment is crazy, giving those are people that have been convicted in court and obviously pled guilty in many cases. He was asked, when you hear Elise Stefanik, member of the House GOP leadership, talking about people that attacked you and former colleagues as hostages, what are you and the former colleagues who are still in the force, still protecting people like Stefanik? You guys are protecting people who are protecting the people that attacked you. Sergeant Gunnell said, "It's a betrayal for the sacrifices of January 6th. It's a sacrifice on the lives and every effort that we made, on January 6th to prevent them from getting hurt."
Oh, do you need a Heimlich?
Still dealing with COVID.
Yeah.
Anyway, your thoughts on that? Feelings.
I appreciate Sergeant Gunnell so much. And Sergeant Gunnell has been, fantastic about, his speaking out and his candor. Sergeant Gunnell is an immigrant who had to earn American citizenship. So he didn't just, end up here in America, by happenstance. He earned, and then he fought for this country, and took that oath on more than one occasion. So I respect him so much for and his candid comments. But speaking about the whole hostage thing like that, it's like I said, it's par for the course for this party and what they represent. I am glad, however, that they do want to do something about prison reform, something that a lot of Democrats and marginalized people, and especially in urban communities, have been talking about for years, for decades. So great, let's do something meaningful about prison reform. It's one of the things that when I get to Congress that I want to work on. Common sense initiatives, things that we can actually oh, great. We have an issue in common that we think that needs to be addressed. However, like you said, those individuals have been convicted and pled guilty on many accounts. They all had their days in court. They had fair and legal representation, and they were found guilty by a jury of their peers. It's plain and simple as that. Like, uh, again,
Yeah.
it's just a talking point to rally people up and spread more disinformation.
Um, yeah, Sergeant Ganell made a great point. He said, if you really think those people are hostages or political prisoners, then what are we, the police officers? Who are we to them? This is coming from the party of law and order, in quotation marks. I cannot believe these policies anymore because they do not believe that. And also just went on to say, the only reason they escaped any harm without any of these elected officials getting hurt is because of the actions of myself and my colleagues. Mm-hmm. I mean, boy, a nice thank you would be appropriate.
Yeah, I guess that everybody will be calling the people on the right or the people that have been downplaying it would call it an insurrection if we actually, let those members get hurt and the election was not able to be certified. But as ugly as that day was, what makes me proud as a Capitol Police officer, as a former Capitol Police officer who was there that day, is that it went on later that night. They went on the floor and they did certify the election. So I think one of the things that gets overlooked, especially by deniers on that side, is that the reason the election was certified because we did our jobs and none of those members got hurt, even though hundreds and
Yeah.
hundreds of officers were beaten brutally. And,
Yeah.
a lot of them to the tune of not being able to serve on the force anymore.
Yeah. Harry, I hate to take you back to that, but I just have to ask because I think I've been saying this many times on January 6th. It's this was hours and hours of hand-to-hand combat. I mean, the United States military doesn't even fight like that anymore generally. And I can't imagine the trauma. And I just wonder how are you doing? How are you doing now, physically,
You know, I'm
emotionally?
I'm doing well, and yeah, the military. I don't want to draw any comparisons to military or war like that. Those troops are so amazing, and they
Yeah,
defending our homeland and everything. Um, but yeah, it's just different. It was a different type of trauma. It was a different type of something that we had never seen before. I've been at the Capitol, like I said, 15 plus years, and I think it's safe to say I've dealt with over 1,000 protests. And 99.99% of them, even the rowdiest of them was a couple of being called cuss words and pushed, or not even pushed, but you know, we got heckled, and
yeah,
we erected peaceful protesters, peaceful in the sense of nonviolent, not necessarily in the term of their messaging, but they have the right to do that. Um,
yeah,
and that day, like I said, that was like nothing we ever seen before. But as far as how I'm doing, I'm trying to turn my trauma, my what happened that day into good.
yeah.
What they say, turn lemons into lemonade. And here I am, and trying to make a difference. Because we all have to do something. We can't stand by and wait for somebody else to do it.
Yeah, yummy constitutional lemonade. Yay.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me get your take on one last story. The husband of deceased January 6th rioter Ashley Babbitt has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the U.S. government for $30 million. He said the facts speak truth. Ashley was ambushed when she was shot by Lieutenant Byrd. I mean, I just go ahead. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the world that we live in. He had the right to bring that suit forward, and the facts will come out in court. And everybody needs to be heard, right? Because I've learned one of my friends who he was recently sworn in as a judge, and during one of his when he spoke, he said that people want three things. People want to be seen, they want to be respected, they want to be heard. So now he has a chance to be all of those things and have his message put out there. And when it shows in court, they'll show that those individuals who breached the Capitol that day, they all, whether they were inside the building or not, they had already breached multiple layers of security. Capitol grounds was closed that day.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it wasn't just I'm not going to get into the specifics of Ashley Babbitt, because like I said, that's already been put out there in court.
yeah,
But they
yeah.
do have their day in court, and he should look forward to it just like the American people should, because truth will prevail.
Harry, I am beyond rooting for you in your congressional run in Maryland's third district. The book is Standing Your Ground, and can I just say you touch my heart so much. Every time I've seen you, they handed my mom the flag at Arlington when we buried my dad. They said
Mm,
a grateful nation thanks you. I'm going to choke
yeah,
up, but that's what I think of every time I
Yeah.
see you. A grateful nation thanks you, and best of luck to you. Thanks for taking
that
time
means
for
so.
us.
How can
That
people
means so
donate?
much to me. I really.
Yeah.
Would you say, Chris?
How can people donate to your campaign and help you out?
Well, first of all, I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you so much, and I hope that you get better over there, and wish you
Thank you,
healing. But the
thank you.
website is Harry Dunn for Congress, FOR. Please check it out and donate. I did, although I'm new to politics, I have learned that elections cost money,
Yeah.
and
Yes, they do.
They
I,
certainly
I,
do.